Welcome to the Church of Christ at Washington Park.
In Exodus chapter 20, God came down on the mountain and God spoke. Can you imagine God speaking? God says all these words, says, I am, I'm trying to get his voice now. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt and out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or likeness, and anything that is in heaven above, that is in the earth beneath, that is in the waters under the earth. God starts speaking, and he said, have no other gods. But you know what we'll do today? We'll trust in the wrong God. We'll have other gods. We'll play like we don't, but we will. We'll have other gods. And you remember, of course, in 1 Kings 12:28, Brother Paul. 1 Kings 12:28. Remember, the king came into power, and he said, I don't want you all to go all the way over to Jerusalem. I'm going to set up a calf over here in Dan, and I'm going to set up a calf over here in Bethel, and you don't have to, you just trust in those calves. And in 1 Kings, what did I say, 12:28.
Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
Right.
And he set the one in Bethel, and the other he put in Dan.
Right.
And this thing became a sin.
This thing became what?
A sin.
You know why? They were trusting in the wrong God. Could that be us today? Could that really be it? Trusting in the wrong God. Brother Paul, let's give them another example. In 1 Kings 18. 1 Kings 18:26. You remember when Elijah went up on Mount Carmel? And Elijah said, how long halt you between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. If Baal, follow him. So they set up a contest. They took these bulls and they cut them in half. And they say the God that answers by fire, he's the God. Let's find out once and for all who's the true God. And in 1 Kings 18:26. What does he say, brother?
And they took the bullock which was given them, and they dressed it, and called on the name of Baal from morning even until noon.
Right.
Saying, O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered.
You know why there was no answer? Because they was trusting in the wrong God. And you say, Brother Jackson, what? It's 2026. What does that have to do with us? This is May the 17th, 2026. The first thing we trust in today is ourselves. We put ourselves on everything. If I don't think it, it's not right. If somebody else come up with it, I want everybody to listen to me. I don't want anybody to listen. We trust in ourselves more than we trust in God. And you know what we're doing? We're trusting in the wrong God. In Matthew 16:24, brother. Matthew 16:24.
Then said Jesus unto his disciples, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross and follow me.
Right.
For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
That's what we trust in. My opinion is the only opinion. When I talk, everybody needs to listen. And if I'm not saying it, it's not true. We trust in ourselves. We trust in the wrong God. But what is your soul worth? You say, what would a man give in exchange for a soul? Some people exchange their soul for a gal. Some people exchange their soul for a man. Some people exchange their soul for popularity. Some people exchange their soul just to get a job or get a leg up. What would you give in exchange for your soul? What's your soul worth? You know who has to place a value on that? You do. You're the only one who can place a value on your own soul. And God says it's priceless. And that's what we'll do today. We'll trust in that. They said, Baal, answer us. They were trusting in Baal. Baal's not going to answer them. Right. When it comes down to the end, it doesn't matter what you think or I think. It only matters what God says. We need to do what God tells us to do. We need to stop trusting in the wrong God. In James chapter 1, verse 22, Brother Jay. James 1:22.
chapter
1 verse 22.
22. Okay. Do not merely listen to the word, and some deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Keep going. Okay. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror, and after looking at himself, goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like.
Right. He said, be not doers of the word, but hearers. And not hearers only, but you deceive me. Why would you deceive? It's bad to deceive yourself. You know, people come to church all the time. They hear the word, they hear the gospel. They understand it, but they're not going to obey it. And they think just knowing it is good enough. But being doers of it is the only thing. And if you hear it and not do it, you know who you're deceiving? Yourself. It's bad if I deceive you. It's even worse, Brother Walker, if you deceive me. But it's crazy when we deceive ourselves. And I'm trying to tell you, we're trusting ourselves because we think we're so smart. We think we're, you know, there are people who don't even believe that God exists. They're trusting in their own intellect. We know that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Right. So the Bible tells me in Philippians 4:8, brother Paul, Philippians 4:8.
Finally, brother, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest,
right,
whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things.
Those are things we need to think on. But now let's go to Ephesians 4:8, brother. Let's go to Ephesians 4:8. What does he say there?
Wherefore, he said, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. Now that he ascended, what is he? But he that also descended first into the lower parts of the earth. He that descended is the same also that ascended.
Now who is that? That's why you can't trust in yourself. You've never been anywhere. You're not going anywhere. There's one person that descended, and there's one person that ascended. That's what we need to trust in. And we're trusting ourselves. We'll get on the phone and we'll call and we'll get other people's opinions on things instead of going to God in prayer. And the first person that we trust in, that we trusting in the wrong God is ourselves. But the second thing, you know what else we trust in? Our money. We think if we got enough money, it's going to be all right. It doesn't matter how much money you have, it's never going to be all right. God is still in charge. And we think if we can pad up our bank account, we'll be okay. No matter what the situation comes, we'll be okay. You're trusting in the wrong God. Because the Bible is clear in Proverbs 11:28, Brother T. Proverbs 11:28, sorry. Proverbs 11:28.
He that trusteth in his riches shall fall. But the righteous shall flourish. For as a ram.
So you trust in your riches, you're going to fall. Somebody said, well, Brother Jackson, if I just get to this amount, I'll be all right. It's never going to be all right. No matter how much you get, it's never going to be enough. You know why? Because in 1 Timothy 6, verse 7, Brother Walker.
Then again.
1 Timothy 6:7.
We brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we should carry nothing out.
You know, sometimes I talk to people and I say, do you know what my mama left? And they'll go in and say, what? And I said, everything. That's what you're going to do? You're going to leave it all here. And you trusted in it, and you're working for it, and you're giving up all your time, and you're giving up all your energy, and you brought nothing, and you're going to leave with nothing.
Right.
And you're trusting in the wrong God. In the end, you're not going to have anything. Where should we lay up our treasures? In heaven. That's where we should lay up our treasure. And Matthew 6, verse 19. Brother Jacob. Matthew 6, 19.
Come on, please. 6:19. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and vermin destroys, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, wherefore moth and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal.
Why?
For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be.
If you trusted in this money, and you're working so hard for it, and you're giving up your whole life, you're giving up God for it, where your treasure is, there your heart should be also. He said, lay up your treasures in heaven. How do you do that? How do you lay up treasures in heaven? Because that's where you want to put your treasures where you can get to them, right? Nobody put their money where they can't get to it. You want to put your treasures where you get to it. How do you do that? Brother Williams, in 1 Timothy, let's show them how to do this. In 1 Timothy, chapter 6, verse 17. 1 Timothy 6, 17.
Charge them that are rich in this world, that they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God.
Who you going to trust in? Not your money, but God. Because your money say, in God we trust. All right, what else, brother?
Who giveth us richly all things to enjoy.
Right.
They that do good, that be rich in good works, ready to distribute, willing to communicate,
Right.
laying up in store for themselves.
That's how you lay up your money. And store it for yourself by helping other people when you have it. That's how you're going to lay up your treasures in heaven. If you say, well, no, Brother Jackson, that's taking away my money. No, you're taking away your money. He says, call them that are rich, those that have, learn to help other people. What you're doing is laying up in store for the time to come when we get to heaven. But the problem is we don't want to let anything go. Brother Walker always said, if your hand closed, nothing's coming out and nothing's going in. So the only way we're going to lay up our treasures in heaven is to do something with it while we got it here. Because you're going to leave it here. Did you finish that, brother?
Laying up in store for themselves a good foundation against the time to come, that they may lay hold on eternal life.
That's how you're going to do it. Do something with what God gave you. Sometimes we don't want to do that. Sometimes we don't want to, we don't want to help. Would you rather be the person that's helping or the person that need help? You got to be able to help people, man. Sometimes we just don't do it. Brother Paul, help me out here.
Done a good job, bro.
Y'all pray for me. Brother T. Brother Walker.
Help somebody with somebody. Sometimes life throws a stumbling block everywhere.
That's the way life is.
Sometimes we all need help sometimes.
Do you think we tell people when we need help? Because we all been raised like, keep your business in the house. Don't tell anybody what's going on in your life. Don't act like you need help. Act like you all have everything in control. And we all know we need help sometimes. And as brothers and sisters in Christ, we should be able to talk to one another. But the problem is, I'm strong all by myself. We need to let people know sometimes what's going on in our lives. In order for us to be able to help people, we got to allow people to help us. problem is, no, I don't need any help yet. Sometimes we do. And so we trusted in the wrong God. And your money, you're going to leave it here. And the only way you're going to lay it up and store is to do something with it while you have it now, that for the time to come. So the first thing, trusting in your wrong God, is you trusting in yourself. The second thing you trusting in the wrong God is you trusting in your money. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know, when you talk about the treasure, okay, so you got to think about, like in 2 Corinthians 4th chapter, you talking about this earthly vessel, and then you talk about the treasure. The treasure is your life experience. Things that you have seen, things that you know, those are very valuable. And it's not for us to keep it to ourselves.
Right.
It's to share.
Right.
So if like how we suffer in silence, that's not a good thing. We should always be able to voice what's going on. Because what it does, it helps somebody else. So before you know it, you telling something that may help me tremendously. And I can avoid some of the mistakes that you made,
Right.
because you're telling your business, basically what it is.
Right, right.
But it's helpful. It's all needful. And God tells us it's not for a secret to be a secret.
Right.
It's for to know so you can see how God delivers you.
Right.
That's what He's in the business of. You know.
And when you talk to a brother and sister in Christ, it need to stay right there. It doesn't need to be on the 6 o'clock news. Guess what Brother Jake told me? See, in order for us to help one another, we got to be able to trust one another. And if you don't trust me, you're not going to tell me anything. And if I don't trust you, I'm certainly not going to tell you anything. There's been many people in here who have confided in me. And I got to keep it. Because you're never going to come back to me again if I don't. So yeah, God put us together. And God wants us to communicate and trust one another. But we have to be trustworthy. We have to be the kind of people who are not going to run around and gossip. If somebody said, well, let me tell you what I heard, you just tell them, no, you just keep that. Because I don't need it. You know, I was out front one time and this fella pulled up in the car. And he said, Sister so-and-so, I said, yeah. He said, let me tell you about her. I'm like, I don't need to know about her. You bring her with you. It's been so many people that try to get me on their side in something that's going on in their marriage. I said, no, it takes two. So you go get the other party, and then we can sit down and discuss it. Because there's always two sides to a story. And so we got to be able to trust one another. But you cannot trust in the wrong God. And when you start trusting in yourself and you start trusting in your money, you're going to be disappointed. That's another thing I want you to realize. You can't trust in your family. You love your family, but your family not God. You got to put God above your family. And that's what happens. Brother Jackson, my family came in town, so I can't come to church. No, you're putting the family above God. Bring them to church with you. You know, we have gospel meetings and people don't want to come because they know. The Bible said in Luke 14:26, Brother Williams, Luke 14:26.
If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple.
Do I have to hate my mom and my dad? You got to put them below God. You know, somebody called me on the radio, well, my mom used to do this, and my dad, and I'm not saying your mom and dad isn't important. They are important, but they're not as important as God. And when you replace them and put God here, you're trusting in the wrong God. Because we all gonna have problems. There are all gonna be times when we say we can do something and we're not gonna be able to do it. We're all gonna disappoint. But I'm gonna tell you somebody that never disappoints. That's Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So I'm asking you today not to put your trust in the wrong God now. Because you know, we're trusting that money. We think if I get so much in the bank, I'll be good. Or we're trusting ourselves. I know everything. I'm such an intellectual. Or we're trusting our family. I know my family. This I know, but it doesn't matter. God is higher than your family. So we can't do that. And Luke 12:52. Brother Underhill. Luke 12:52. You got your glasses on, bro?
For from henceforth, there shall be five in one house, divided 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. The father shall be divided against the son, and the son against the father. The mother against the daughter, and the daughter against the mother. The mother-in-law against the daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law.
Why? Because of God. Do you know there are people who don't want their children to be saved, don't want them to be baptized? I've heard so many stories about children being baptized in the family disowning them. You still put your trust in God. You got to put all your trust in God. It doesn't matter. I understand that we have family, but the family does not come before God. But there's one more thing I want you to realize, and it's going to be a short list. We can't trust in our career. How are you defined? And somebody say, what does Brother Daniels? Who is Brother Daniels? Would they say Christian first, or would they say body man first? Because, you know, somebody's going to define you. And we put our trust in our career, but you know, one day they're not going to need you down there on that job. We got to put God first. Oh, Brother Jackson, I'm getting overtime. Brother Jackson, I'm getting time and a half. Brother Jackson, I can work on Sunday. That's all, but you're trusting in the wrong God. Your career is not what it's all about.
Yes, sir.
God is what it's all about. And many of us will put our job first. And what we're doing is trusting in the wrong God. Brother Paul, help me out here.
You know, it's evident most of the time we'll find ourselves few against many on our jobs, where we may be, but we gotta stand firm on the Lord, you know, and let our light shine. They'll know who we are.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just letting people. Does everybody in your neighborhood know what you do on Sunday mornings? Because they've seen you Sunday after Sunday after Sunday come out your door and go to church. Brother Jones, help me out here.
I think that if, the light definitely has to shine, and you have to stand for something. If you're going to stand for something, stand for God. Don't stand for the nonsense, don't stand for the overflow, stand for God.
Okie dokie. You know, Brother Nash used to say, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. People need to know what you stand for. But it can't be all about your job. Because you know what's going to happen? You're going to leave it here anyway. In Job 1:15. Brother William. Job 1:15.
And the Sabaeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
Right.
While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of God is fallen from heaven. It has burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
Okay.
While he was yet speaking, there came also another.
You ever had a bad day?
Oh yeah.
I mean, problem after problem after problem, and you say, God, just can I get a little breather? But you know what we learn, right? We learn when we're going through something. We don't learn when everything's nice and we're sitting on the sofa watching Gomer Pyle. Yeah, that's not the time we learn. The time we learn is when there's some hardships and when there's some struggles in our lives. When we're going through something. You know what we learn? That God is still on the throne. And God is still going to take care of us. That's when we learn. That's when our faith is built. That's when our trust is built. But if you walk out on God, you walked out on it all. And you would think Job would say, God, I had enough. But what happened, brother?
Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house. And it fell upon the young men they are dead, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Then Job arose and rent his mantle, and shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground and worshipped, and said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord.
That's our attitude. When you go through something, just thank God. Thank God for the ups. Thank God for the downs. Thank God for the more hard-headed children. Thank God for the good children, because it all makes us. You know, we'll blame our parents, but they didn't give me this and they didn't give me that. But God gave you your parents. You should be thankful for that. You know, we'll blame our society. Well, I was raised in this neighborhood, but God put you where He needed you to be so you could sit here today. We don't realize everything God doing for us. Even the children in the wilderness, they were being fed, they were given water, and what did they do? They murmured and complained. And does God like that? Of course not. All I know is that we need to trust in God. Trusting in the wrong God will take us to hell. Trusting in God will help us to get to heaven. Brother Thomas, help me out here. Oh, yes, sir.
You know, things grow in the dark. You know, if you think about it, you plant a seed, it's in the ground, it's all covered up. You don't know how it's going to come out, but it's coming out. And that's how we have to look at life, though. Things, our troubles they're good for us. I was just telling my daughter the same thing last night. These things, all these things, they go together. You know, it's like I always say, life is like a puzzle. You get one piece at a time. It'll be nice if we see in the box how all it's going to look, you know, at the end, but we don't. We just get one piece at a time. Right. So just wait and just be patient and just trust God. He know what He's doing. We don't know what we're doing. And we just hold on and just keep it strong, and you're going to see how all this thing turns out.
Amen, brother. That's what we have to do. We can't trust in the wrong God. And many of us are doing that today. We're trusting in ourselves. You think, I know what's best for me. Somebody try to talk to you. You don't know me. You don't know what God knows what's best for you. We're trusting in our money. We think if we get this amount of money, we'll be okay. But guess what happened? You're still not going to be okay. You know, we're trusting in what else did I say? We trust in our jobs and our family. You know, your family loves you. Of course your family loves you. But your family's not always going to be there. Your mama's not always going to be there. Your dad is not always going to be there. When you stand in front of the Lord, we got to stand on our own 2 feet. And we got to learn that God means what He says when He says what He means. And so we got to put our trust where it's supposed to be. And the family is not it. And Ecclesiastes 4:4, Brother Paul. Ecclesiastes 4:4.
Again, I consider all travail and every right work, for this man is envy of his neighbor. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit.
Mine says chasing the wind. You working so hard because you envious of your neighbor. Your neighbor has a nice car, so you want a nice car. Your neighbor has a nice, and you're working so hard to try to achieve that, and he's saying that's like chasing after the wind. Yeah. Who cares? You don't know what your neighbor going through. Your neighbor could be catching hell right now, trying to pay for that nice car, so we need to just put our trust in God. And don't worry about all this labor. Why are we working so hard? To leave it to those children? You know, to leave it to what? I'm not saying we shouldn't work. Of course we should work. But I'm saying it can't take over God. It can't take over the #1 spot. And a lot of us do. We'll put work over God. And it's just not going to work. Brother Paul, Ecclesiastes 5:15.
As he came forth of his mother's womb, naked shall he return to go as he came, and shall take nothing of his labor, which he may carry away in his hand.
Okay.
And this also is a sore evil, that in all points as he came, so shall he go. And what profit he that had labored for the wind? And all his days also he eateth in darkness, and he had much sorrow and wrath with his sickness.
But he's working so hard though. And we'll put our career, we'll put our education, we'll put all that stuff before God. It just won't work. Brother James Thomas, help me out here.
You know, the song says, if we lay up our treasures, be not dismayed, God. It's not for whatsoever man sows that shall we. You know, a lot of time we don't like to tell our brothers and sisters our business because a long time ago we used to share and it wouldn't go nowhere, you know, yeah. But now you share it with each other, and before you know it, it's all over church, all right to go. But you know, we should trust in the Lord because that's what Cain asked the Lord. The Lord asked him, where is his brother? Say, my brother's keeping. Right. That's the first thing our brothers and sisters would say. I'm not your keeper. You know,
that's not right.
Job, you know. But it goes to say that we are brothers and sisters. We are to share. We're supposed to like one another's burdens and all that.
Okay.
Already.
Brother Williams.
Well, thinking about this physical life, to me, it doesn't matter whether you're rich or you're poor. I think it was Solomon who said, you know, a man, if you live 1,000 years twice, you know, we all still going to the same place.
Right.
So it's best to do what God said, because we don't know what's on the other side. He knows.
Right.
You know, and he gonna make sure everybody get to the right place.
Yeah. And you know, it doesn't matter about all of this stuff, but we're so enamored with the new iPhone, the new 100-inch television, or the new electric car, the new truck, or the new house. We're just inundated with all of this stuff. And guess what? Our kids are growing up like that too. You know, we're teaching our kids that stuff, and their priorities aren't God. You know, we used to be able to. We used to have to come to church. That you weren't gonna stay home. You had now kids stay home. You know, and if your mom and dad came to school, boy, it was gonna be bad on you. But now they go to school and it's bad on the teacher. And so our society has completely changed, where God is not in the picture anymore. And you know, they used to talk about God, used to be able to talk about God. Now you can't even mention God. So we have to get those children and sit them down at the kitchen table, and we have to teach them about God. We won't let them miss grades now. They're not doing good, and we'll teach them their ABCs. But we won't teach them about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And it's coming upon you, it's coming upon me to do that. We're losing a generation. Our kids are growing up that don't know God anymore, whether you believe it or not. They'll get out in front of the church building, they'll start cussing you out. You know, they get on people call me on the radio, and I'm saying, we're talking spiritually. We're gonna talk like somebody. We're gonna control ourselves. So it's important that we teach our children this. And it's the only way it's gonna help, because we're losing our children. That's about all I got. Yeah.
Just one more thing. Why is it that we have to be so secretive? What you're going through, it's not even about you. When you really say what Christ said, it's about Christ. Yeah, it's not about you, but we make it about ourselves. And so we want to keep it in private. We want to keep it. No, God is doing this. How is it that you can do something in private and God makes it public? You know why? Because he needs you to understand, I am God. See, that's where you started at. I am the Lord. Trust in me. I got this. I know what I'm doing. You just let everybody know what's going on with you, because I'm going to show you how I'm going to deliver you. And when I deliver you, now you have a testimony. Go back to 2 Corinthians 4. He's talking about the ministry. He's not talking about a preacher. He's talking about your life. That's what he's talking about. Your life is a ministry for Christ. And I don't preach me. I preach Christ.
Right.
All right? Don't make it about you.
Right.
Make it about Christ.
Do you know what's happened, Jake? People have confided in people, and they went and told everything. It kind of messes it up for everybody else, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. We got to be able to keep our secrets. Well, they're not secrets, but, you know, one another. We're talking to one another. We don't want the church to look bad. We want to talk to one another. You got a problem with your brother, you go to your brother. You don't go out and talk about it. And then if that don't work, you take 2 or 3 other brothers. The thing is to keep it as small as you can. You don't want the church to look bad out there.
Yes, sir.
And then you could take 2 or 3 people who they respect. Might be some women, might be some men, somebody that you all both respect. And they sit down and they're going to be the mediator. And they're going to say, well, this is right and this is wrong. But the last thing we want to do is take what we just heard and take it out to everybody. And then somebody said, well, I want to go down to Washington Park down there. I heard about them. They got this going on. There's people outside that know everything that's going on in the church.
That's right.
Because we can't keep it to ourselves. And it's to Jake's point, we should be able to talk to one another. I should be able to talk to you. And it's not about me. Like you said, it's not about us. It's about Christ. We've got to be able to keep your mouth shut. We got to be able to learn to be discreet. We got to be able to learn that it's not everybody else's business what's going on here, just God's. If we could do that, we'll be all right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for visiting the Church of Christ at Washington Park. Hope to see you again soon.